Is it just me, or is the Battlefront franchise cursed these days? Star Wars Battlefront 2 was, the disaster that it was, with EA just infesting it with loot boxes. And Star Wars Battlefront 3 was, I think, supposed to happen, but then, EA decided not to go through with that. And now Aspyr, they're a company, for those who don't know, who work on a lot of ports of old titles. So Tomb Raider Remastered, featuring Tomb Raider 1, 2, and 3 came out recently, and that was fairly well received. They've ported over games like Star Wars Force Unleashed and, KOTOR and whatnot. They've been relatively successful in those endeavors. So when people got word that Aspyr was going to take the original Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2, package it together and ship it and sort of essentially bring servers back up again and allow people to re-experience a classic, people were excited, but now the disappointment is palpable, as you can see right here. Looking at the Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection Steam page, you'll find a mostly negative review score of 20% from almost 3,000 reviews, which is not insubstantial. A decent amount of people are checking this game out. In fact, if we go to Steam charts right now, you'll find that the game peaked at almost 10,000 players, which for a game of this age, that's pretty impressive. It goes to highlight that this experience was missed by a good crowd. But the disappointment that people felt when they discovered that this game was just untenable in the way it was launched and its technical state, it was a massive disappointment. So there are plenty of tweets highlighting what exactly happened. So right here we have Twitter user Seb, who posted almost 10,000 people are playing on launch night, only has 3 servers that have 64 slots for a total of around 200 players. Suffice to say that that's not enough players for people to engage with the multiplayer component of this game, which is the thing that people play Battlefront 2 for. It's that massive multiplayer experience that people remember this game fondly for. It's not ideal when they're only maximum capacity of roughly 200 players and roughly 10,000 people flood in. Multiplayer doesn't work otherwise. The price tag of $35 right now is just not justified, and people are calling this basically robbery in its current state. And you can see the amount of views that this tweet garnered, as well as 23,000 likes, which goes to highlight that people really had high hopes for this one. For it to disappoint so epically at launch is just really unfortunate. Here's another tweet from Culture Crave highlighting all of the same issues and the fact that when you do get in a multiplayer session, there's a lot of crashing and there's severe lag. And this garnered 4.4 million views and over 26,000 likes. Culture Crave also took to highlighting some of the tweets that people have been posting about this game and their just utter umbrage towards what a scam this feels like, with people highlighting how this kind of just feels like the rough state of the Halo Master Chief Collection on launch day. Others highlighting how there are only 3 servers and how utterly ridiculous that is. The single player experience, that works fine, but multiplayer is where this game's at. People posting PSAs that you should not play this game, that servers are utterly screwed up, match times unplayably short, audio bugs that blew out my ears, just sucked all around. And then there's another tweet saying that they had 3 matches in a row that lasted maybe 2 minutes max, which obviously is an anomaly. Is this some kind of joke? So suffice to say that this is a situation that's garnered a lot of headlines and that a lot of people are taking note of. And looking at the Steam reviews, you can see plenty of feedback and tons of thumbs down. And for the thumbs up that do exist, a lot of them are joking or ironic. So in this page right here, if we scroll down, there's some thumbs up, but here's a thumbs up that says, nothing relevant to the game. And then right here, we have a thumbs up that highlights that this game was refunded because it's just not working. Servers are unstable, and it launched in a way that was just unacceptable. Plenty of negative reviews saying things like this was not like the simulations, which has gotten a lot of likes or people think is really funny. Was hyped, but was let down. The servers are just terrible, and the hit registry is stuffed. Here's a review highlighting the launch state of the game. Only have 3 servers to join, massing about 200 people rounded up. Seriously, what the fuck is this? I'll update this review if I if I can actually join a lobby. And then when this user managed to join a match, specifically a heroes versus villains match, it was apparently completely broken. No one could join the heroes team, which resulted in no one to fight against. I figure this may have been just a Battlefront 2 issue, so I hopped on to play Battlefront 1 multiplayer. There are 0 servers up for Battlefront 1. Wow. Now, they did eventually fix the issue for Battlefront 2 where there were only 3 servers for some reason. They added some more. But unfortunately, getting into a match doesn't make the experience better due to the fact that there's just horrible ping, stuttering. And so the game is currently being deemed unplayable as far as the beloved multiplayer component goes. We've got headlines like this one from PC Gamer highlighting how one of the Steam reviews called it probably one of the worst launches of all time. And the Steam reviews reflect that. The fact that it's at 20% makes it one of the worst user-reviewed games on Steam currently. They highlight how some reviews call this game totally unplayable right now. Even if you manage to get in a server, players cannot spawn. So it is straight up the worst case scenario as far as porting over an old classic is concerned. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that porting a game just, you snap a finger and it happens like that. I'm sure there are complications involved, especially when porting over such an old game and trying to, on some level modernize it or bring it into modern consoles that are different from what they were originally launched on. But, come on. These are still old games, and people have the expectation of, at the very least, it should work as good as it did back then. But if you're going to port them over, on some level, it should be better. It should have some quality of life improvements and things like multiplayer servers. That stuff should be worked out, especially for an experience where multiplayer was such a pivotal aspect of what made it special. PC Gamer itself highlights how the original Battlefront games were adored for their multiplayer, so for them to ship with such few servers is just kind of baffling. They did fix this, and PC Gamer noted that when they logged in, there were more servers and they could actually join a match, but complaints do still abound, ranging from floaty controls to crashes to stuttering to incredibly bare bones options for playing with friends. And this editor's own experiences apparently echoed what a lot of people were complaining about. Attempting to get into a game of Battlefront 2 left me hanging at character select for a full minute before I give up and rejoin the server, reads this editor's experience. And then there's the baffling aspect of the fact that this game is massive in its size when it has no right to be a whopping 62.87 gigabytes for an old game like Battlefront 1 and Battlefront 2, when the original games combined total were 12.39 gigabytes. There's no way one could argue that they added so much to this, port of the old Battlefront games and remastered it in such a major way that it warrants this being, 5 times the size of the original experience. So people are wondering why the hell is this package so freaking massive and takes up so much storage space. And one aspect that people take pleasure from as far as these old Battlefront games go is modding them. And so when the base storage space required is 62.87 gigabytes, add mods on top of that, need tons more space to be taken if I do want to mod. And then if you go to the official Battlefront subreddit, you'll find that all of the top comments are essentially just tearing this game apart with feedback that suggests that everyone had an awful experience, that for a lot of people, they found this to be unplayable, that servers were lacking, and that this was just not what people were expecting or hoping for when they hoped for a comeback, especially given after the disappointment that was EA's Battlefront 2, which did eventually get better, don't get me wrong, but it had such a huge initial hurdle to get through because of all the issues that the game had at launch with all the loot boxes that ruined the gameplay loop. And there were so many updates that needed to happen before EA Star Wars Battlefront 2 became something of worth for people who spent money on that game. I don't know what happened behind the scenes exactly, but it seems abundantly clear that this collection needed to be delayed. If there were complications with porting these games over, then they should have delayed the package so that at launch it could be the best experience possible. But alas, they just decided to go with the launch now and fix later method that I feel like a lot of AAA games tend to fall into, this trap that this game has no excuse falling into, especially because this is not some huge AAA game. Again, it is a port of an old game that has older versions that work better than this modernized port. Now, I don't know if the reason this game feels like such a rush job was because of publisher mandates to get this thing out. I mean, Embracer Group really hasn't been in the good graces of developers or gamers. For those who don't know, Embracer is the parent company of Aspyr, and Embracer lately has shown that they're just a really incompetent publishing company with their reckless way of doing business, with investments that they put all their eggs on that didn't pan out, especially where like the whole Saudi Arabia investment situation is concerned. And now they're, laying off a bunch of people, shutting stuff down so they can try to recoup some of the financial woes that they're currently engaged in. And I don't know if they just wanted this thing out and make a quick buck. Whatever the case, it doesn't change the fact that this is overall a pretty disastrous launch that has lost Aspyr a lot of goodwill from the community that they've built up. This definitely feels like a scam to charge people any kind of money for a game to be in this kind of state. And I think many will argue that the criticism is warranted. And the best we can hope for is that Aspyr can fix this as soon as possible and ensure that this classic collection feels like an upgrade from the originals and not like a broken shadow of what these beloved games used to be. Or at the very least, that's one man's take. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on the current state of Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection and what your take is on its disastrous launch. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.